In the heart of Lagos, where money spoke louder than words and luxury was a lifestyle, the Lima family reigned supreme. They were not just rich, they were unimaginably wealthy, owning oil companies, real estate empires, fashion brands, and even a private island off the coast. Their name carried weight in every elite gathering, every political meeting, every high society wedding. But amidst all their grandeur, there was something unusual about the Lima family. Something people whispered about but dared not question. They were all bald, not just the men but the women too. Every single member of their bloodline, from the oldest patriarch to the youngest child, was bald and gleaming. It wasn't sickness, it wasn't genetics, and it most certainly wasn't fashion. It was something far deeper, an unbreakable vow, one that had kept them swimming in riches for generations. Decades ago, the Lima ancestors had discovered a terrifying truth, a mystical revelation, that bound them to their baldness. It was said that in a time long past, an old priest had blessed their first forefather with boundless wealth, but with one eerie condition: your lineage shall prosper beyond imagination, but hair shall never grow upon your heads. Let it grow, and fortune shall decay, and so, the vow was made. From birth, every Lima child was shaved clean, taught to embrace the baldness, conditioned to see it as their strength. Whenever they walked into a place, heads stand. People gasped at their sheer presence, the shimmering designer gowns, the diamond-crusted watches, the polished, glossy heads that reflected the sun. Most wished they could be part of their world. Others feared them. Then came Oma, the jewel of the Lima family. Oma was beautiful beyond words, a princess of wealth, adored by many. Wherever she went, the air shifted. Even in Lagos' most extravagant parties, she stood out, turning heads even among those who thought they had seen it all. But beneath the sparkle of diamonds and silky designer dresses, a longing brewed deep inside her. A yearning that grew sharper when she entered university. For the first time, she was away from the strict confines of the Lima mansion, thrown into a world where hair wasn't just accepted but celebrated. Girls her age wore braids, curls, wigs, and extensions that flowed like rivers of beauty. She saw them giggle as they styled their hair, felt their joy when they dyed it vibrant colors. She envied their freedom to choose. Oma wanted that. She wanted to feel the softness of curls against her face, the weight of braids swinging behind her back. She wanted to run her fingers through thick strands and feel her scalp come alive. One evening, away from the prying eyes of her family, she picked up her phone and called home. "Papa," she said, voice trembling, "can I grow my hair?" Silence. Then came a thunderous no. Her mother took the phone. "Oma, never ask this again. Never, my child. You know our vow, but why?" She pleaded. "What will happen?" "It's just hair, Mama, do not disobey us." Her father bellowed. "If you grow it, something terrible will happen. You will lose everything." Yet, in that moment, all Oma heard was fear, fear that had controlled her family for generations. Fear that bound them to tradition without question. Fear that suffocated her freedom, and something inside her snapped. Determined, Oma walked into the campus shopping mall one evening, and made her decision. She bought strong hair growth oil. A voice kept telling her, "You're a Lima. Don't apply it," but Oma said to herself, "I don't care. I'll apply this hair cream on my head." She eventually applied it. And so, for the first time in Lima history, hair began to grow. It started as a soft fuzz, tickling her scalp. Then, within days, silky strands flourished. She was so excited. As the hair grew, she went to the salon and braided them. She gasped, the weight, the movement, the magic of it. She had never felt so free. The hairdressers cheered. Her course-mates admired her transformation. Even some students stopped to compliment her new look. But back home, things took a different turn. A week after Oma had braids for the first time, the Lima mansion trembled. Stocks crashed. Properties caught fire. Their businesses faced lawsuits. Jewelry was stolen. Even their prized Rolls Royces were mysteriously vandalized overnight. Lagos was in shock. How? How could the untouchable Lima family suddenly crumble? But the Limas knew. They knew the curse had been triggered. Oma's hair had broken the vow. Desperate, her parents called her. Oma, please, come home at once. Cut your hair. No, she whispered. I won't. Her father was breathless, her mother in tears. You don't understand. Our wealth, our power, it's disappearing. Oma swallowed hard. She could hear the chaos in their voices, the panic, the devastation, and she realized it was all true. The vow had bound them. And now, because of her choice, it was breaking. She had to make a decision, one that would determine the fate of her family, her legacy, and her own identity. Oma stood at the airport gates, gripping the handle of her suitcase tightly. The weight of her decision pressed against her chest like a boulder. She had defied her family's vow, embraced the forbidden, and now, the consequences had come crashing down. The flight home felt endless, her mind racing with thoughts of her parents, their fury, the chaos unraveling back in Lagos. Would they ever forgive her? Had she truly doomed the Lima legacy? As soon as she stepped into the grand marble-floored mansion, she was met with the piercing gazes of her parents, standing in the extravagant foyer with arms folded, their reflections shimmering in the golden chandeliers. Oma. Her mother's voice sliced through the air. Look at what you've done. Our wealth is vanishing before our eyes. Her father took an angry step forward, shaking his head. Stocks crashed. Lawsuits appeared out of nowhere. Even our property in Dubai. Gone. He glared at her, his fist clenched. And all because you grew your hair. Oma swallowed hard, holding her ground. Papa, Mama, this doesn't make sense. It's just hair. Why should something so simple control our fate? You were warned. Her mother cried. We told you. Our ancestors made a vow. Her father gestured around them. Look around you, Oma. The Lima Empire is collapsing. Our fortune, our legacy, gone. His voice trembled with frustration. Unless you do something to fix this, Oma took a deep breath. Fix it. Her eyes flickered with doubt. How? That was when her parents exchanged a knowing glance. Sit down, Oma, and as she sat down, they cut her braids with scissors and also shaved all her hair. Oma was sad, but there was nothing she could do. After that, her mother whispered, Come to the secret room, the room of incantations. Oma followed them down a winding corridor, deeper into the heart of the mansion. They stopped before a towering iron door, its surface carved with intricate symbols passed down through generations. Her father pushed it open. The room was bathed in a dim glow of flickering candles. Red, green, and gold flames danced across the walls, casting eerie shadows over the ancient inscriptions decorating the floor. The scent of burning incense filled the air. Oma's heart pounded as she stepped inside. This room had always been off limits. The entire Lima family was already there, her uncles, aunts, cousins, all gathered in solemn silence. They sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, murmuring words that sent chills down Oma's spine. Then, it happened. A voice deep, unearthly, rippled through the air. The vow has been broken. The candles flickered violently. Restoration requires balance. The price must be paid. Oma shivered. Her parents turned to her. Her mother reached for her hand. Oma, you must fix this. Her father added, we need a sacrifice. The balance must be restored. Oma's stomach twisted. Sacrifice. Her mother took a deep breath. Bring someone, Oma. Her father's expression was firm. It is the only way to save our family. Oma froze. Mama, Papa, no. She shook her head wildly. I won't do it. Her father's face darkened. Then watch everything crumble. Her mother sighed deeply. You must choose, Oma. The entire family was watching her now. Then, her mind drifted back to her university, and to Felicia, a classmate who had admired her. Oma swallowed hard. The next day Oma returned to school, her mind weighed down by the eerie events that unfolded back home. The Lima legacy was crumbling, and her family had given her one impossible task, to restore their wealth. She tried to ignore it, tried to convince herself there had to be another way. But no matter how much she pushed it aside, she felt the curse tightening around her, forcing her to act. That was when she saw Felicia. Felicia was one of the brightest students in her class, a girl whose intelligence sparkled like gold. She had earned her place at the university through hard work, securing a scholarship that lifted her from the struggles of her humble background. She had nothing to her name but her brilliance, and that made her perfect. Oma forced herself to smile more, to be approachable. She became unusually friendly, striking up conversations, offering to help with schoolwork, even getting Felicia small gifts. "Felicia, let me get you something at the canteen," she said one afternoon, waving a waiter over. "My treat." Felicia hesitated but smiled. "Really? Oma, that's too much, please," Oma insisted. "I want to," Felicia beamed. They ate together, their conversations flowing effortlessly. Each day, Oma tightened the bond, buying Felicia jewelry, luxury clothes, taking her shopping in the fanciest boutiques. Felicia was overwhelmed with gratitude. She had never experienced such generosity, such kindness. "Oma, why are you so nice to me?" she asked one evening. Oma forced a smile. "Because you're my best friend, Felicia." Felicia's heart swelled. "That means a lot to me." Oma swallowed hard, guilt creeping into her soul. Weeks passed, and Felicia had grown close to Oma, so close that she never questioned anything. Then one evening, Oma made her move. "Felicia, my family is having a get-together this weekend in Lagos," she announced excitedly. "I want you to come." Felicia's eyes widened. "Me? Your family's event?" "Yes," Oma nodded eagerly. "You're special to me. I want you there." Felicia's face lit up. "Oma, I'm honored. I've never been invited to such an event before." Oma leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "One thing though, this must stay between us. My family is very private. We don't like our G's getting out." Felicia nodded quickly. "I understand. I won't tell anyone." Oma smiled. Everything was falling into place. That evening, Oma took Felicia for shopping. She bought luxury jewelries, handbags, and nice clothes for her. Felicia was so happy, she kept smiling all through. That weekend, they went to the airport. Felicia couldn't stop smiling as she stepped onto the plane. It was her first time flying, and every detail fascinated her: the sleek seats, the overhead compartments, the friendly flight attendants offering drinks. She gazed out the window, marveling at how the airport bustled with activity below. "Oma, I can't believe this is happening," she said, turning to her best friend with wide eyes. "I've never been on a plane before." "It's a dream come true." Oma managed a smile, though her heart felt heavy. Felicia whispered a prayer before takeoff, thanking God for the opportunity and blessing Oma for her kindness. She reached for her hand briefly and squeezed it. "You're like a sister to me, Oma. I'll never forget this." Oma smiled again. But inside, her guilt gnawed at her. The flight was smooth, with Felicia excitedly looking down at the world beneath them, pointing out landscapes and clouds like a child seeing magic for the first time. She giggled at the small bags of snacks, excitedly snapped photos of the cabin, and even asked the flight attendant a few nervous questions about turbulence. Oma watched, forcing herself to remain composed. Could she really go through with this? The plane finally landed in Lagos, and a black luxury SUV was already waiting for them at the private terminal. The moment Felicia stepped off the plane, she inhaled deeply and smiled. "Lagos," she whispered. "It feels different. It's like a world of its own." The drive to the Lima mansion was unlike anything Felicia had ever experienced: smooth, luxurious, the car gliding effortlessly through the streets as she admired the high-rises, the lavish boutiques, the elite restaurants glowing with golden lights. "Uma, your world is unbelievable," she breathed. But she had no idea just how unbelievable it was. When they arrived at the Lima mansion, Felicia was struck speechless. The estate stretched across acres, its tall golden gates opening as uniformed guards nodded them through. The mansion itself was breathtaking, polished marble floors, sparkling chandeliers the size of cars, grand staircases that spiral toward high ceilings painted with intricate designs. "This looks like something out of a royal movie," Felicia whispered, her eyes darting around in awe. The Lima family was waiting in the dining hall, dressed in regal, expensive fabrics, their presence commanding. The long dining table was set with pure gold plates, crystal glasses filled with rare wine, and an array of dishes so extravagant that Felicia couldn't believe her eyes: steamed lobsters, roasted lamb, grilled tiger prawns, exotic fruits, and desserts that glowed under the chandeliers. "Welcome, Felicia," Omar's father said, smiling warmly. "We are honored to have you." Felicia felt special, important. She had never been treated like this before. The dinner was lively, everyone spoke in refined tones, laughter echoing through the hall. Felicia was encouraged to eat as much as she wanted, every dish tasting richer than anything she had ever had. She relaxed, she felt safe, she had no idea what was about to happen next. As the evening wore on, Felicia's limbs grew heavy. A deep warmth settled in her stomach, her head feeling light. "Omar," she murmured, her voice slow. "I feel tired," Omar simply washed. Felicia's eyelids fluttered, the weight of exhaustion pulling her down. Moments later, she fell asleep, her head resting gently against the velvet seat. The Lima family exchanged knowing glances. It was time. They took Felicia to the dark secret room, and as Felicia laid on the floor in the secret room, they danced around her, and after some minutes Felicia started vomiting money. They all smiled and walked out of the secret room. As they went to their various rooms, Oma laid in her room feeling sad. But she then thought to herself, "Anyway, I did this to save my precious family. And that's all that matters." The money Felicia vomited filled the secret room. Days passed, and when Felicia was finally brought out of the secret chamber in the Lima mansion, she wasn't the same person anymore. Her once bright, curious eyes were vacant, staring straight ahead without focus. Her movements were stiff, slow, as though each step required effort. She didn't speak, not a single word. Omar stood beside her, watching as her family dressed Felicia in a plain red shirt and fitted jeans. She barely blinked, barely reacted. She was no longer Felicia, she was something else. Something had happened to her in that room. Something that no one could explain. And yet, she was alive. Omar swallowed hard, pretending to breathe normally as she led Felicia to the waiting car. The flight was booked, the arrangements made. Felicia was going back to school, and this part of the Lima family's legacy would be buried forever. The private jet soared through the sky, but unlike the first time, Felicia didn't marvel at the clouds. She didn't stare out of the window with excitement, didn't whisper prayers of gratitude. She just sat there, staring at nothing, hands folded neatly in her lap, silent. Omar looked over at her, trying to ignore the sinking feeling in her chest. She wanted to say something, to ask if Felicia was alright, to say sorry, to tell her that she didn't want things to end up this way. But the words never came. She knew the truth. Felicia wasn't alright, and it was her fault. She squeezed her fist, turning toward the window, pretending not to feel the overwhelming guilt that had latched onto her soul. "This is how it has to be," Oma whispered to herself. "She'll forget. She'll move on. Life will go back to normal," but deep down, she knew nothing would ever be normal again. The moment they stepped through the university gate, Oma distanced herself. She kept walking ahead, faster than Felicia, refusing to look back. Felicia, however, moved slowly, as if her limbs no longer knew how to function. She entered the campus with no expression, with no excitement, the same campus that had once been her escape, her place of dreams and hope, now felt foreign to her. When she walked into her class, her course mates greeted her, as they always did at first. "Felicia, where have you been?" one of them asked. Felicia just nodded, no words. No smiles. Just a nod. Another friend leaned in, concerned. Felicia, are you okay? Again, just a nod. The conversations around her grew quieter, the laughter dimmed. People began to notice. Felicia wasn't Felicia anymore. Something was wrong. And whatever it was, whatever had changed her so deeply no one could understand, back on campus, Omar moved swiftly, avoiding Felicia. At all costs, pretending nothing had happened. But students began noticing. The once lively, intelligent Felicia had changed completely. She no longer engaged in conversations, no longer smiled, no longer responded beyond slight nods. "She's different," one classmate whispered. She wasn't in school all weekend. Neither was Omar, didn't they travel together? The murmurs grew louder. Finally, one of Felicia's close friends confronted Omar in the hallway. "Omar, what's going on with Felicia? She's acting strange." Omar immediately shut it down. "Don't ask me about her," she snapped. The girl flinched. "But you two were always together." "Not anymore," Omar hissed. "She's not my friend." The group of students watching exchanged uneasy glances. Another dared to ask, "Did you two travel together?" Omar shook her head firmly. "No. I went to visit my sick mom." Her voice was sharp, defensive. "And Felicia? She never even checked on me." "She's wicked." The students were stunned. "But she wasn't around either," another murmured. "She just returned and became this quiet version of herself." "I didn't travel with her," Omar said flatly. "I only saw her on my way back and gave her a lift to the school gate. That's all." And just like that, Omar walked away, leaving the students baffled. But their whispers didn't stop. Days passed, and Felicia remained the same. Quiet. Unresponsive. A shadow of who she used to be. Her friends, worried and confused, finally called her parents. When they arrived at the university, their hearts sank. This wasn't their daughter. She looked like Felicia, but something was wrong. Something was missing. She didn't smile at them. Didn't run into their arms. Didn't cry or talk. She just stood there, staring. "Felicia," her mother whispered, gripping her face gently. No response. Her father leaned in. "Sweetheart, what happened?" But Felicia remained silent. Desperate, they took her to the hospital, hoping doctors could explain what was happening. But after several tests, the doctors were baffled. "There is nothing physically wrong with her," the specialist said. "No head trauma. No infections. No neurological issues." Her mother's hands trembled. "But she won't talk. She won't eat." "Maybe she's in shock," the doctor said gently. "Give her time." So, her parents took her home, hoping that familiar surroundings would help. Days turned into weeks, and Felicia's condition worsened. She would urinate on herself, barely reacting to her own discomfort. She slept endlessly, barely opening her eyes for more than a few hours at a time. And when she was awake she said nothing. Her mother tried to feed her, but Felicia ate little to nothing. She was fading. "Felicia, talk to me." Her mother cried one evening, holding her hands. "Please." Felicia blinked once. But she said nothing. Her father paced the living room, growing more desperate. "What happened to her? This isn't our daughter. She looks like her, but she feels different." Her mother wiped away silent tears. "I don't know what to do anymore." Then, one morning, they made a decision. "We must take her to church." And so, the search for answers beyond science began. Felicia's parents brought her to a well-known prophet, a man who had guided many families through spiritual battles before. The moment they entered the church, the man stiffened. He watched Felicia carefully, scanning her blank expression. Then, he whispered something, under his breath. "This child," he murmured, narrowing his eyes. Her mother leaned forward, desperate. "Please, prophet. Help our daughter," he exhaled. Something has touched her soul. Her mother gasped, while her father grabbed her hand tightly. What do you mean? Her father asked, his voice sharp. The prophet studied Felicia again. She has been somewhere. Somewhere she was never supposed to be. A chill spread through the room. Felicia blinked slowly, her expression unchanged. But her mother knew. Something unnatural had happened to her child. The church was silent, the air thick with an unspoken force. Felicia's parents stood beside her, their hands trembling as the prophet stepped forward. He studied her, his gaze deep, searching. Then, he raised his voice. Whatever has touched this child, whatever has bound her, let it be broken. They erupted into prayer, voices rising, hands lifted, a wave of energy surging through the space. Felicia shuddered. Her mother gasped, her daughter, who had barely reacted for weeks, suddenly trembled, then she screamed. A piercing, heartbreaking cry, a release of something unseen. Tears flooded her eyes as she collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. Her mother rushed to hold her, crying into her shoulder. Mama, Papa, she said. As Felicia regained herself, she wept harder. She spoke slowly, voice cracking under the weight of her memories. She told her parents everything, how she had been invited to Lagos by Oma, how she had been welcomed with lavish gifts, how she had eaten at the grand table, and how she had awoken in the secret room. Her father stiffened, his jaw clenched. Her mother paled, gripping Felicia's hands tighter. This was never just a trip, she whispered. Something evil had tried to take their daughter. Her parents didn't need to ask more questions. They knew that whatever had happened in Lagos, their child had barely escaped it. Oma, Felicia murmured, shaking her head. She wasn't the person I thought she was. Back at school, Oma sat alone in her lavish apartment, sipping cold water, trying to push everything out of her mind. She had restored her family's legacy. She had fulfilled her duty. But then something started. A burning sensation rippled through her body. Hot, unbearable, spreading like wildfire beneath her skin. She gasped, clutching her arms. What's happening to me? She whispered, panicking. She grabbed her phone, hands trembling, and called her mother. The moment her mother answered, she was screaming. Oma, something is wrong. My body is burning too. Oma froze, her heart pounding wildly. She knew. She knew something had gone wrong. Panic took over. She had to get home, had to leave. She threw on her jacket, grabbed her bags, and rushed toward the school gate. But as she walked, the heat intensified. Her steps slowed. Her breathing became labored. And suddenly, she collapsed, clutching her chest. Students rushed toward her, whispering in fear. And then she started confessing. I did it. I did it. She cried out, voice raw with pain. I tricked Felicia. I took her to Lagos, she sobbed, her body trembling as gasps filled the crowd. People stared, wide-eyed, hearing her reveal everything. The mystery that had shadowed Felicia's strange behavior had suddenly unraveled, and the truth was darker than anyone had imagined. Within hours, the news spread. Professors whispered. Classmates stared. The campus was buzzing with questions, with fear, with outrage. Did you hear what Oma said? What did she do to Felicia? This is beyond strange. Something happened in Lagos. Before Oma could flee, campus security arrived, guiding her away as whispers grew louder. She was taken to an office for questioning, her hands trembling, her mind racing. While Oma was being interrogated at school, back in Lagos, Felicia's parents took action, with their daughter finally awake. Finally speaking, they demanded justice. Their entire neighborhood joined them to demand justice. The whispers about the Lima family, a family so wealthy, so secretive, so untouchable, turned into loud accusations. Soon, the media caught wind of the scandal, reporters flooding the streets of Lagos, digging into who the Limas truly were. Then, the first major story broke. A dark legacy behind the Lima fortune, university student, Felicia, allegedly lured into a ritualistic chamber. Forced into an unexplainable fate, the headlines were everywhere. The Lima mansion was no longer a palace, it had become a crime scene. Investigators demanded answers. And suddenly, the family that had walked with power, bathed in diamonds, and ruled the social elite was exposed. Oma sat in the cold interrogation room, her pulse hammering in her chest as questions fired at her. What did you do to Felicia? Why was she taken to Lagos? What is the Lima family hiding? Her head pounded, her body still burning. Her family's empire was collapsing. And all she could do was face what she had done. The storm that followed Felicia's revelation was unlike anything Nigeria had ever seen. The once untouchable Lima family, who had ruled the elite circles of Lagos, whose wealth seemed infinite and whose presence commanded respect, was now at the center of one of the greatest scandals in history. News broke everywhere. Television anchors spoke of the mysterious rituals, the whispers of an ancient vow, the allegations that tied the Lima wealth to something beyond mere business dealings. Social media exploded. The Lima family, a legacy built on secrets, Felicia's story, a university student caught in the dark history of Nigeria's wealthiest family, people demanded answers. Investigators dug deeper, uncovering old records, strange dealings, whispers from former employees who had long suspected something sinister behind the family's enormous fortune. And one by one, their empire crumbled, their businesses collapsed overnight. Investors pulled out, their stocks plummeted, and banks froze their accounts, launching full-scale investigations into fraudulent activities. Their luxury cars, their jewels, their real estate holdings all were seized, sold, auctioned off. Employees quit en masse, leaving their empire empty, abandoned, and worthless. The Lima mansion, once a place of mystery and power, was now surrounded by journalists, cameras flashing, crowds gathering to witness the fall of the dynasty that had ruled Nigeria's elite for decades. As Oma sat in the police custody trembling, her phone rang endlessly, calls from lawyers, from family members desperate to escape the unraveling storm, from former friends who now wanted nothing to do with her. She had thought she could walk away from this, pretend it wasn't happening, but now it was too late. The world knew the truth. Meanwhile, Felicia sat by the window of her home, finally herself again, the fog of confusion and silence lifted from her mind. Her parents held her hands tightly, never letting go. She had survived something unthinkable. Something that had threatened to consume her. And yet she was free. She had spoken, she had fought, and now, the Lima Empire, the force that had tried to silence her forever, was no more. Her name was everywhere, but this time, it was not in fear, it was in victory. Felicia was the girl who had brought down the Lima family. And the world would never forget. Oma's parents and the entire Lima family members vanished mysteriously. Oma also vanished from the police custody. It was so shocking, the Lima family were never caught or found ever again. The Lima mansion stood abandoned, its once grand halls now echoing with silence. Dust settled on golden chandeliers, cobwebs stretched across marble floors, and the air was thick with the weight of a legacy. Destroyed. The family that had once commanded respect, wealth, and untouchable power was no more. Oma's name became a whisper, a warning. And Felicia. She became a symbol of resilience. The truth had prevailed. But some say that deep within the ruins of the Lima estate, in that secret chamber where it all began, the candles still flicker at night. As though the past refuses to be forgotten. This story serves as a powerful reminder: wealth without God is a ticking time bomb, and secrets, no matter how well hidden, will always find their way into the light. Never trade integrity for riches. The Lima family had everything, but the price they paid was far greater than they ever imagined. Beware of blind trust. Felicia believed in Oma's friendship, only to be led into a dangerous mystery. Trust is earned, not given blindly. Truth will always win. No matter how long lies are buried, they will resurface. Felicia's survival is proof that God can break even the darkest chains. If this story kept you hooked, let us know. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. What surprised you the most? What would you have done in Felicia's place? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this intense story with your friends and loved ones. There's more where this came from, so stay tuned for more thrilling, mind-blowing tales. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and remember, the truth is never truly buried. Bye for now.